Hey, you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. Just going to start with a couple of things before we dive right into another Uninformed this week. Firstly, I'd like to say congratulations to Luke and Claire who gave birth. Well, Claire gave birth. Luke did fuck all. But they had a healthy baby girl, Imogen Willow Rose. Congratulations, Claire. You've got some work ahead of you. Luke, you really don't have to do fuck all besides not be a cunt for about 3 years. So that was a bit of good news. And the second bit of good news I have received, probably even better news. Definitely better news. So on day 132, I told a story about when I was living at the King's Hotel in Bathurst. And one of the nights I was hammered there, I ended up going out and sharing a joint with a guy who had a hole in his throat. And he was smoking the joint through the hole in his throat. And I was just lipping it up after him. Puff, puff, give. Well, a listener said he saw him this weekend. He actually drinks at one of his mates' local pubs. And his name's Tommy. He's a shearer. And he's still going strong. He said he's still on the darts. He's still bunging darts through the hole in his throat. Through the hole in his throat. You can't keep a good man down. Hearing Tommy the shearer is still bunging darts through the hole in his throat almost brought a tear to my eye. So thanks to the listener for messaging me and letting me know a true Australian hero is still alive and kicking. And just one last thing before I start. If you're a new listener to the podcast, if you want to listen from day one, the first day I gave up drinking, when I was a complete fucking mess, the best place to get that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes. None of those places carry it. They only carry 300 episodes at a time, so you can't get it there. Some of the other places you can get it like Stitcher, Laughable, Overcast, Castbox. You'll find it, but generally Spotify is your best bet. Now, is there anything else I need to say to pad this out a little bit more? To stall, because I really don't know what I'm going to say about this fucking uninformed subject that I just thought of. This week's topic for Uninformed is another topic that's very, very close to my heart. And it's a topic that's going to be very close to all your hearts too, I know. I can feel it. The uninformed topic I'm going to tackle today is debt. Dun dun dun. Debt. We've all got some. It's inescapable. Maybe you have a home loan that is twice as big as your house is worth. Maybe you have a car loan, a little bit of credit card debt. Maybe you went over to Thailand. Maybe you had a little bit too much fun with the ladyboys over there for a couple of months. Maybe you're a couple of grand behind in child support payments. Maybe you owe your bookie $150. Any way we look at it, we all owe something to someone. But that's not the debt I want to talk about today. The debt I would like to talk about today is national debt. Dun, dun, dun. Can someone please explain to me where the fuck all this national debt is coming from and how China can keep on lending the whole fucking world money? That's what they say. They're like, the US owes China like $10 trillion. How does that even work? How can China lend $10 trillion to the US? China's GDP is only a little bit over half of the US's GDP. Where the fuck are they getting 10 trillion spare dollars? And it's not even just to the US either. China is apparently lending money to fucking everyone. Every country in the world is fucking in debt. Every single country. Except China isn't. China doesn't have that sort of money just lying around. I can tell you that. They've only become big in like the last 10 years. Maybe 15 years. How can you lend that much money without going broke yourself? No one's paying you back either. People just keep on borrowing. Where is this stash coming from? It can't all be coming from plastic sand buckets and shitty t-shirts. So where is the money coming from? Is someone lending it to China? I don't know how it works. In Australia, this is what happens. The government goes broke every single year and they have to lend money off the Reserve Bank of Australia, which has nothing to do with the government or Australia. It's just a privately owned bank. And so when Australia is in deficit, when they have no fucking money like they don't have at the moment, where they needed to borrow $1 trillion to pay for all this COVID shit, they go to the Reserve Bank and they say, can I have some money? And the Reserve Bank goes, yes, we'll lend it to you, but you got to pay interest on it. Can someone knock on the door of the Reserve Bank and say, hey, where the fuck are you getting $1 trillion from, huh? Who the fuck are you to have $1 trillion to lend to Australia? Can I speak to your manager, please? It's the same everywhere. Federal Reserve, the Reserve Bank of India, all these banks lend money to the countries. What are these reserve banks doing? Are they just making up numbers in the back room? And how does that even work? Does our Prime Minister go to the Federal Reserve with his hat in hand like a fucking beggar and go, "Excuse me, Federal Reserve, do you happen to have a spare $1 trillion in the vault?" Then the guy at the teller goes out the back and has a quick look, just does a quick scan, a quick count, a mental count, and he comes back and he's like, "Yeah, I think we have $1 trillion. Yeah, it just so happens we have exactly $1 trillion. If you need more in a couple of weeks, we might have $2 trillion. I don't know. I'd have to count it." And then the Prime Minister goes, "Well, can we borrow $1 trillion and then we'll pay you back the interest?" How much is the interest? Who cares what the interest is? 1% of $1 trillion is like 100 billion, I think. What is $1 trillion? 1,000 billions or 100 billions? No, 100 billion is 100 billion. It must be 1,000 billion. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money. So our Prime Minister's like, "Yeah, can we grab that $1 trillion and we'll pay it back?" But he never goes, "Can I just ask you one question? Where the fuck did you get $1 trillion from, Reserve Bank? Because you're not doing shit. You don't even have a fucking branch. I see no Reserve Bank teller machines collecting fucking fees anywhere. And you seem to have trillions and trillions of dollars to fucking lend everyone like fucking China. But at least China are making fake fentanyl and have giant meth labs and are sending meth to the rest of the world. What are you doing, Reserve Bank? You're just sitting back there. And where did you get your capital? How did you start, Reserve Bank? And this goes for all the reserve banks in the world. Are you just back there typing in numbers? Or is this whole world economy a fucking pyramid scheme of debt? And the reserve banks and the central banks are at the top of the pyramid. At least China makes a little bit of sense why they have money. They make everything, but I still don't understand how they can fucking lend that much money to people. All I know is I want to become a sovereign citizen, become the nation state of Boyle, and then I want to go to the Chinese government. Their government and my government meet. I'm the president, and I just want to have a little chat. I want to say the nation of Boyle would like a $43,000 loan to pay off my national debt, my student fees, and then in return, the nation state of Boyle will become a strong ally of the Chinese Communist Party. I'm well armed. I have 2 axes in the cupboard. They're sharp, and my one-man military is willing to use them. Anyway, I have no idea how the national debt works. All I know is every single country in the entire world is in debt, except for China and maybe Germany. And Germany not being in debt is fucking sus. Okay, that has been another Uninformed, and this is comedian David Boyle signing off. See you the fuck later.